Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 3, Drunk in Wild Songs. Chapter 226, Magnanimity. The scorching sun blazed so hot that the armored cavalrymen on the military drill grounds were dripping with sweat all over. A chill ran down everyone's spines at the twang of the conqueror bow being drawn. Following right after, 3 arrows struck the target one after another. Their heavy, dull thuds reverberating throughout the military drill grounds. Xiao Qiye lowered his arm and reloaded an arrow. The new blades master wanted have arrived. Chen Yang stood by the side, lifting the quiver for Xiao Qiye. I have checked over the goods with Wu Ziyu this morning. They're all quality blades forged by the military craftsmen from Daying. Xiao Qiye raised his arm and stared at the target. The arrow struck the bull's eye with a thud. Chen Yang handed over an arrow and waited for Xiao Qiye to empty out the quiver before passing him a towel. With the sun hanging over his head, Xiao Qiye wiped his sweat and asked, "Is he here?" Chen Yang looked back towards the entrance of the camp. He should be by now. It was presently midday. Snow that had melted in the Sha'ir camp flowed into the ditches. It was so hot that waves of heat were visibly radiating off the ground. A boundless expanse of withered and yellow grassland stretched on infinitely outside the entrance of Sha'ir camp. Propping himself against the camp wall, Gu Jin saw billowing waves of flying sand on the horizon. "Open the camp gate." A soldier stationed above shouted below. "General Guo is entering the campgrounds." Guo Wulai had already led the armored cavalry before the camp while the gate was gradually being hoisted. He pulled the reins of his horse and removed his helmet, then ran a hand through his soaked hair as he waited for the bridge to fall over the ditch before the campground. The falcons Guo Wulai had brought over hovered before the camp, hesitant to advance ahead, while a commotion broke out in the falcon cage within the campground. Men monopolized the very top of the watchtower, where it stared down at the newly arrived falcons. A change began to come over the atmosphere in the campground. The Imperial Army, who were initially squatting by the foot of the wall to relax in the shade, all rose to their feet to watch the camp gate open with a myriad of expressions. Gu Jin did not move as he locked eyes with Guo Wulai, neither of them willing to give way. It was common knowledge that Guo Wulai and Xiao Qiye did not get along. Guo Wulai's framing of Gu Jin at the Tudalong banner was the thorn that stood between them both. In addition, he had repeatedly clashed with the Imperial Army at Shazan camp. Tension was stretched so taut between both mutually antagonistic parties that it was at a snapping point. Who could have expected Xiao Jiming to transfer Guo Wulai over to Xiao Qiye's command with one deployment order? Wu Ziyu came out of the tent and stood far away, not wishing to get caught in the crossfire. Guo Wulai's current commanding general was Xiao Qiye, and this meant that whether or not he would still be able to step onto the battlefield was now entirely at Xiao Qiye's discretion. Gu Jin was Xiao Qiye's guard, so it was impossible to simply turn the page on the framing incident and let bygones be bygones. No one knew if Xiao Qiye would make life difficult for Guo Wulai or deploy him out of the main battle squad. No matter the decision, neither boded well for a Sha'ir camp that had only just been rebuilt. Once the bridge was fully lowered in place, Guo Wulai steered his horse across and led his squad into Sha'ir camp. Gu Jin walked down the steps and stood in the middle of the stairway to watch them enter. Xiao Qiye did not turn back. He set the arrow he had retrieved onto the bowstring again and concentrated his attention on the target. Thud. Guo Wulai heard the sound of the target being struck. He held his helmet in one arm and saw the conqueror bow glinting under the sunlight. After a moment, he turned and dismounted. Chen Yang led his men over to receive him. Guo Wulai handed over his token, and Chen Yang looked it over before raising his head to say to him, "The original squad can no longer be used and has to be disbanded on site. Head over to register in the tent at the east end. We will assign the members into open vacancies." "Hassan came a few days ago," Guo Wulai said. "The wall on the eastern side of Shazan camp has completely collapsed. Find an opportunity to report it to Daying. We need military craftsmen to repair that portion." Did Hassan bring along the stone catapults? Chen Yang clamped the book under his arm. After Guo Wulai nodded, he turned his head towards the imperial army on the other side and yelled, "Go get Meng Rui and tell him to bring the military craftsmen over." Chen Yang then looked at Guo Wulai again. "I'll arrange for the military craftsmen to head down to Shazan camp to repair the wall right away. You go on ahead and report to the second master." Guo Wulai pressed the tip of his tongue against his canine tooth that was missing half of it and turned around to face Xiao Qiye. Xiao Qiye paid him no attention. He seemed focused on the conqueror bow, almost piercing through that particular target with his shot. The weather in Libya this year was abnormal. It was only the middle of the third month and yet the battle zone was already as hot as it was in the fourth or fifth months in previous years. Guo Wulai did not take off his armor and simply stood there roasting in the scorching sun until he was perspiring profusely. His inner garment was so damp that he could even wring water out of it. It stuck to his body, working hand in hand with the heat waves to make him irascible. Guo Wulai wiped his face and suddenly shouted at the top of his voice, "Guo Wulai of the Shazan camp is here to report to second master." Xiao Qiye stayed his hand and did not fire the last arrow. Hassan launched a sudden assault on Shazan camp 4 days ago. The right flank of the armored cavalry was wiped out, and the eastern side of Shazan camp suffered heavy damage. Guo Wulai stepped back. "Those are the military updates General Zhou wants me to relay." Without even waiting for Xiao Qiye's response after saying his piece, he turned around to leave. Even if Xiao Qiye were really going to abuse his power and deliberately make things hard for Guo Wulai would also resign himself to his fate, blast it all. There was nothing for him to say. As long as he could. Before Guo Wulai got to finish his thought, an arrow hurtled past his ear with a whoosh, bringing along with it a menacing sharpness that his ear could clearly sense. The arrow stabbed into a pillar a few steps away. Had Guo Wulai been walking too fast earlier, this would have been his head. Bloody hell! Guo Wulai instantly looked back with a livid expression. "If second master wants to kill me, just say it outright." Xiao Qiye's expression was scathingly frosty and grave as he held the conqueror bow in hand. "So you know I want to kill you, too." Guo Wulai, last year when Gu Jin escorted the military grains to the battlegrounds, he encountered an ambush near the Tudalong banner. He traversed across the marshland to return to Changzhou camp, where you shielded the patrol squad under your command and indiscriminately had him bound to apply torture on him. You even stripped him of his military rank and framed him for colluding with the Biancha cavalry, so tell me, based on all of that, should I or should I not kill you? Gu Jin accepted the arm guard handed to him and descended the steps. Guo Wulai had framed Gu Jin for Xiao Jiming's sake. Everyone was perfectly aware of this. But Xiao Qiye found him a reason that could be taken out into the open. By this, he meant to deal with him. Guo Wulai flung away his helmet. "That's right. I did it. Kill me if..." Gu Jin approached him from behind and hauled Guo Wulai by the back of his collar. At the same time Guo Wulai looked back, Gu Jin threw a punch that knocked him to the ground. This one punch was so violent that Guo Wulai felt the remaining half of his canine tooth begin to shake. He spat out the blood froth in his mouth and cursed, "Fuck." Without waiting for Guo Wulai to stand up, Gu Jin kicked him in the chest. Guo Wulai went rolling, his entire face smeared full of yellow sand. He wiped hard at the sand on his face. Gu Jin yanked him up and elbowed him over to the ground once again. Guo Wulai felt as if his cheeks were going to split apart from the blows, but not once did he fight back as he let Gu Jin pummel him until the metallic taste of blood saturated his mouth. "This is what you owe me." Gu Jin waited until Guo Wulai was bent over the ground, gasping heavily for breath before he removed the arm guard and tossed it at his side with a noisy clang. Recovering from his slightly ragged breathing, he continued, "And now you've repaid it all." Not only was Guo Wulai stunned but even Wu Ziu, who was standing at a distance away, was struck dumb, too. Guo Wulai propped himself up with both arms, spat out all the blood in his mouth, and staggered to his feet. Chen Yang tossed his helmet to him. Guo Wulai was still feeling flummoxed. That's it? But he almost lashed Gu Jin to his death. Gu Jin took a few steps back and said, the personal grudge between you and me is written off as of today. If you have anything to say, lay it all out on the table. You're second master's soldier, and I'm second master's guard. When we step out of Sha'ir camp hereafter, you and I are kin brothers who have each other's back. The day we part ways will be the day this war ends. The scene everyone expected to play out did not materialize. Li Bei's morale was low this year. As Xiao Qiye's guard, Gu Jin was unwilling to let Xiao Qiye lose the hearts of Shazan camp soldiers any further because of this matter. Xiao Qiye gave Gu Jin the authority to handle it as he deemed fit, and Gu Jin was willing to use such a method to resolve the issue because he was a real man who could not and would not play dirty. Guo Wulai initially thought that he would be injured if not dead today, but who knew Gu Jin would be this magnanimous? Even he felt small standing before Gu Jin. He rubbed at a bruise on his face, and despite feeling a little reluctant to concede defeat, he was also a little impressed. He who can tolerate his shame and endure humiliations is a real man of character. Guo Wulai was usually a game drinker who drank to his heart's content and a valiant fighter who fought like there was no tomorrow. He boasted of being a man amongst men, and so would not easily speak of the words concede defeat to another. Gu Jin suffered such great humiliation at the Tudalong banner, and yet he could use such a method today to defuse the awkwardness between both parties. He not only saved Guo Wulai from punishment but also won over Shazan camp's heart for Xiao Qiye. Gu Jin was a representative of Xiao Qiye, his actions reflected upon the latter, and whether on a personal or professional level, Guo Wulai truly had to hand it to him for de-escalating the conflict in this way. Xiao Qiye raised an arm to let Meng perch. In the wind, he recalled the words his old man had said before he left. Gu Jin went to such lengths all to smooth the path ahead for Xiao Qiye. He was telling everyone in the battlegrounds that second master was not an intolerant man who could not accommodate others. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. When the sky darkened, Guo Wulai sat by the campfire and roasted his field rations. His face was decorated with bruises all over. Wu Ziu sat across from him with a rice bowl in hand. Guo Wulai cast a glance at Wu Ziu but said nothing. Meals are provided in the camp. Wu Ziu snatched Guo Wulai's field rations away. Go over and ask for it. Why are you squatting here gnawing on field rations instead? Guo Wulai covertly clenched his now empty hands and said testily, are you that much of a busybody? What the fuck has it got to do with you? Don't tell me you're too embarrassed and awkward to do so. Wu Ziu stuffed 2 spoonfuls of rice into his mouth. Gu Jin already said it's all water under the bridge now. Guo Wulai picked up a piece of firewood and poked the campfire. The Imperial Army was having a great time on the opposite side. This group of army ruffians was still the same as ever. After a moment of silence, Guo Wulai said, did second master really attack and killed the Duan province's scorpions at the Hashi sinkhole? What's more, he defeated them while outnumbered. Wu Ziu gestured with his fingers. Guo Wulai scoffed, and the main force comprises of the Imperial Army, right? Bullocks. Just how many Imperial Army soldiers went? Wu Ziu did not share that much camaraderie with Guo Wulai, and he had been rubbed the wrong way many times by Guo Wulai before, so he said, be reasonable, will you? Which part of the second master doesn't cut it? Second master was the one who took back Shazan camp, and the person he cut down that time was Huhlu, who was your arch-enemy for half a lifetime. And now, he's killed off the head scorpion of Duan province. Second master is still willing to use you after what happened with Gu Jin. This is what I call magnanimity. So cut it out with your ungrateful attitude. Guo Wulai stabbed at the campfire until sparks spluttered all over. He lifted the smoking stick of firewood and pointed it at Wu Ziu. Wu Ziu was not in the least bit afraid of Guo Wulai. He used to be in the convoy squad in the past, so there was nothing he could do about being overshadowed. Moreover, he had no opportunity to step onto the battlefield, and all that holding back had turned him into a good-for-nothing. But it was different now. He was the one who seized back Duan province. Although the credits also went to Xiao Qiye's diversionary tactic in luring the enemies away from their base, he did indeed fight the battle to reclaim the city, regardless of the number of people he used. There have not been any victorious battles this year. You butted heads with Hassan before, and our armored cavalry isn't on par with the Bianjun commandery garrison troops currently stationed at the Shai camp. Wu Ziu set down his chopsticks. Can you beat the scorpions in a fight? No, you can't. Can Zhao Hui? He can't do it either. So why not follow under the second master's command? Am I not doing that just now? Guo Wulai was a bad-tempered man who spoke in a very blunt tone. How else do you want me to follow him? By shadowing him hot on his ass? Bloody hell, how did the armored cavalry dodge the iron hammers? It was epic. Wu Ziu gave him a thumbs up. You can bloody well go figure it out yourself. Guo Wulai watched Wu Ziu walk away. When Wu Ziu was almost engulfed in the darkness of the night, Guo Wulai suddenly jolted to his feet and cursed, "My rations!" Wu Ziu had long fled. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Xiao Qiye looked at the newly delivered blades under the candlelight. These longer and thinner blades required the Libe armored cavalry to adapt to them. He lined up a formation in Sha'ir camp, and repeatedly thought about what he had obtained from the Hashi sinkhole. On the other end, Chen Yang and Gu Jin entered the tent, and Xiao Qiye caught the aroma of milk. "Master, there's a letter from the prefectural lord delivered along with the supply wagons." Chen Yang set the letter from Duan province on the small table at Xiao Qiye's side. The Mount Luo riding stables are beginning to take shape, and the repairs of the Zongbo bridle paths are coming along so fast that access will be available by the end of the 4th month. Shenzhequan was dumping hordes of money on it, so how could it not be fast? At this thought, Xiao Qiye remembered Chu capital. He kept the blade away in its sheath and tore open Shenzhequan's letter in between sips of his milk tea. The venerable master Yideng is in He province. Xiao Qiye hesitated for a moment before looking at Gu Jin. Why is the venerable master Yideng in He province? Gu Jin, who had a new robe hung over his arm, thought for a moment after hearing the question, then shook his head and answered, "Why would the venerable master Yideng go to He province?" "Master, the venerable master left his home in He province in his early years to become a monk. All these years, he has only been willing to roam around our Libe. That's really strange." Xiao Qiye inexplicably felt displeased. "I dug to the center of the earth, and I couldn't even find him. How could he have fallen into Yan Hiru's hands?" Chen Yang collected the empty bowl and said, "That Yan Hiru is a coward who is mortally afraid of death, and Zongbo was in such mayhem last year, so he wanted to seek out the venerable master as an insurance to preserve his life." Chen Yang's voice gradually trailed to a stop. Silence reigned in the tent for a long time. Xiao Qiye was looking for the venerable master Yideng. There were already rumors of this spreading around since the 6th month last year. If Yan Hiru already had the venerable master's whereabouts a long time ago, then why did he not say a word instead of keeping it quiet until now? "I'll be at Sha'ir camp in the next few days." Xiao Qiye folded the letter. "Gu Jin, spur your horse down south tonight to Duan province to keep watch over the prefectural lord. Come back if the venerable master arrives without a hitch. If not..." Xiao Qiye's eyes were an abyss of darkness. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Yan Hiru sneezed several times in a row. Clutching his handkerchief, he blew his nose and rubbed it until its tip was red. He sat on the chair with his head craned to watch Yao Wenai writing. This character of Mr. Yuan Zhou can be likened to flying eagles and darting hares. Not only are the strokes strong and firm. Yan Hiru launched into a series of flattery and smiled at Yao Wenai again when he was done. "Mister, wanna crack melon seeds? It's rather boring to be sitting here." When will his lordship be done handling the cases? Is he this busy every day? In that case, he has to take care of his health. It'd be bad if he were to burn his body out. However, the venerable Master Yiden is already on the way. Going by the schedule, I reckon he will more or less arrive in a few days. When the time comes, I'll get the venerable master to take a look at your legs. No doubt he will be able to make you stand up on your feet again. Yao Wenai's brush stroke skewed aside, although he showed no trace of anger on his face and merely looked at the paper regretfully. Feeling out Yao Wenai's expression, Yan Hiru leaned over the edge of the table and said, "Do you hate Shui Yanking for subjecting you to such a misfortune? He's a really wicked man. Why not team up with me to set up a trap for him? We'll take advantage of the chaos to off him and hang his exposed corpse up in Chu capital for several days to appease your hatred." With a slight frown on his face, Yao Wenai set down the brush and said, "Such an act is too depraved." Yan Hiru revealed a look of understanding and said, "You're a scholar, and scholars are all sticklers for this, but not so for merchants like us. A fool is the one who does not avenge a vendetta. The more you double down on settling the score and making him pay for it, the more gratifying it is." Yao Wenai felt his words to be loaded with meaning. At the same time, he rolled up his sleeves he made to speak. But Yan Hiru raised an index finger and hushed him with a quiet shh. The interior of the room fell silent, making the sound of footsteps in the courtyard particularly clear. Shenzequan, who had been in the principal hall, seemed to have stepped out and was now standing under the eaves listening to someone who had come to submit his report. Qiao Tianya had originally been standing on the side, but upon hearing the report, his expression changed. He repeated, "Overturned. Overturned." The Jinyi Wei delivering the message said as he wiped his sweat, "Your lordship, the horse carriage was stuck outside Fan province. Luo Mu did not even have the time to send men to receive the guests in it when the carriage overturned." Fei Sheng pressed in a step closer and asked with urgency, "Where's the venerable master?" Inside the room, Yan Hiru covered his mouth, and with his eyes darting around, said regretfully to Yao Wenai, "Heaven be my witness. This has nothing to do with me at all. I've been right here in front of you and his lordship." His doe eyes were so harmless but they sparkled with malice within. Heaven help us all now. End chapter. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 3, Drunk in Wild Songs. Chapter 227, Child Prodigy. The horse carriage from He province had already arrived when the men we sent to receive them reached Cha province's borders. They were being chased by the He province yamen and did not dare to stop for a break on the way. The carriage overturned on the old bridle path outside the city of Cha province and plunged into the stream. The Jinyi Wei hesitated a little before continuing. It broke to smithereens on impact. There were no survivors. The guards in the courtyard all fell as silent as the cicadas in winter. Only the sound of running water could be heard. The bamboo tube knocked against the rock, and newly replaced water from the pond washed over the rock's surface, turning the remaining mosses black. Fei Sheng's heart sank. He instantly looked at Shenzequan. Contrary to expectation, Shenzequan's expression was calm. After standing under the eaves for a moment, he asked, "Why was the He province yamen chasing after the horse carriage?" "They exposed their whereabouts when passing through the checkpoint and lied that they were relatives of the Yan clan," the Jinyi Wei reported. "But who knew that Chu capital had issued an imperial edict in recent days, and the entire He province is on the hunt for Yan Hiru? The moment the yamen heard they were relatives of the Yan clan, they thought they were absconding to flee punishment. It was so much of a coincidence that it seemed as if even heaven was hampering the venerable master from arriving in Zongbo." Fei Sheng did not believe this coincidence, and neither did Qiao Tianya. The people assigned to receive the carriage were all elites. If they said the horse carriage overturned, then it really overturned and was not tampered with, at least, no tampering that was noticeable at a glance. Interesting. Shenzhen had already concluded that the venerable master Yideng had likely met with a mishap even before the Jin Yue answered. Otherwise, they could very well resolve the matter themselves instead of reporting it to Shenzhen. If Yan Hiru had treated the venerable master as his trump card, then he had shown his card too eagerly this time, so much that Shenzhen found it hard to believe it right from the start that he would really hand over the venerable master. If that was the case, where did Yan Hiru get the guts to do so? Shenzhen put up his folding fan to stop Qiao Tianya from speaking. He glanced at the side hall and said, "It's already so late now. Go and get ready." With a solemn expression on his face, Qiao Tianya retreated. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. When Shenzhen lifted the hanging screen and entered, Yao Wenyu had already gone out. Yan Hiru was shaking his leg as he fiddled with his golden abacus. He was not proficient at mental arithmetic, but he was very adept in doing calculations with the abacus, flicking away at the abacus beads noisily without even messing up the numbers in his mind. What happened to the venerable master Yideng? Yan Hiru flicked the last bead away. When Shenzhen sat down, he leaned over and said to him across the table, "I heard commotion." There was no one waiting in attendance inside this room, so Shenzhen poured himself a cup of hot tea. Amidst the willowy, spiraling steam of the scented tea, he succinctly answered, "The carriage overturned." Yan Hiru let loose an exclamation of surprise. "How? Is the venerable master all right?" "I've been reminding them to be careful, and I even especially sent my best men at home to tag along." Shenzhen did not drink the tea. Instead, he pulled over the empty porcelain saucer on the table and poured the tea in as if he was rinsing the cup. With a gentle shake of his head, he said, "They said the carriage plunged into a stream in its frantic escape from the pursuit of the He province Yamen. Everyone in it was killed on the spot. What a pity. I was waiting for the venerable master to extend my lifespan this year." Yan Hiru's expression underwent a slight shift. "The venerable master is gone." Shenzhen pressed the scalded, empty cup between the pads of his fingers and raised his eyes to look at Yan Hiru. He repeated, "The venerable master is gone." There was originally no ripple of emotion in Yan Hiru's eyes, but with how Shenzhen was looking at him, uncertainty gradually washed over his expression. Tentatively, he pointed out, "I've already handed him over." Shenzhen loosened his grip, and the empty cup fell onto the table, where it rolled several times and bumped against the edge of Yan Hiru's golden abacus. The lights in the room were all at the back, partially obstructed by the hanging bamboo blinds. Shenzhen did not speak for a long time. He scrutinized Yan Hiru with interest, unable to find the slightest trace of concealment on this face. Just on this point alone, Yan Hiru was better than Shi Hongxian. At this thought, Shenzhen smiled. He lowered his folding fan and propped it up on the tabletop. "This is an unexpected misfortune, how can I blame you for it?" Contrarily, Yan Hiru could not figure out what the prefectural lord was thinking when Shenzhen did not fly into a rage, but he had come to have some understanding of Shenzhen in this past 6 months, and he knew this was not the moment to get anxious and rush the matter. Shenzhen was best at psychological warfare and playing mind games. He only had to drop his guard a little, and the prefectural lord might do an about-face and turn hostile. "Your lordship is magnanimous." As expected of someone worthy of being an overlord, Yan Hiru said. "I've seen so-called heroes elsewhere, but none of them come close to being as astute as your lordship. What should we do now that the venerable master is now gone? I can see Mr. Yuanzuo's illness worsening by the day. We have to get it treated, man. A physician is easy to find, but not a highly skilled one that can work miracles." Shenzhen seemed to be curious. "How did you find the venerable master?" "In He province, of course." Yan Hiru's expression relaxed. "Your lordship may not know it, but He province was the venerable master's home as a layman before he became a monk. Ever since I found out second master was looking for the venerable master, I sent men to keep an eye on his former house. As luck would have it, the venerable master really went back. What a pity I didn't make it in time. Had I come a few days earlier, the venerable master would have been in Duan province by now. It wasn't meant to be, Shenzhequan said. That can't be helped. But I know of some elder imperial physicians in Juexi. They are all masters of their trade, and they used to treat Emperor Guangcheng in the past. Yan Hiru picked up the empty cup. Their reputations are on par with the venerable master, and they have also made quite a name in the 13 cities. Many a number of high-ranking officials and noblemen are all seeking to receive medical treatments from them. If your lordship wishes to meet them, I can bring them along next time. Unexpectedly, Shenzhequan picked up the teapot and poured tea for Yan Hiru. The medical fees cost a fortune, don't they? It's not an issue at all if a few 10,000 silvers can make his lordship happy. Seeing as the tea was about to overflow, Yan Hiru raised a hand to stop him. It makes me happy to spend money as a sign of respect to your lordship. A gush of night breeze leaked its way in from somewhere, sending ripples across the surface of the tea, creasing it. Holding this position, Yan Hiru lowered his voice. I heard that the second eldest son of the Shi family set a trap in Chu capital with the intent to surround and kill your lordship, but he ended up committing suicide right before your lordship's eyes. Tisk, tisk. His blood spilled all over the ground. How very tragic. Shenzhequan did not set down the teapot. With a smile, he said, he who is unrighteous is doomed to bring about their own downfall. I can't stop him even if I wanted to. But as I see it, Yan Hiru said. Your lordship is no man of honor either, he drawled and chuckled. I'm already on familiar terms with the Jinyi Wei in your residence. Your lordship, why do you still ask them to surround me? The candle flames in the room flickered violently. It was quiet in the courtyard, the guards had all seemed to have disappeared. Yan Hiru retracted his hand. Unafraid, he said, see, I have never learned martial arts and I don't even know any fancy moves even. So why make a big hoo-ha if you want to kill me? Draw Yang Shan Shui out of its sheath and slash me to get it all done and over with. At this point, he smacked his thigh and said as though he had just remembered, oh, I forgot. Your lordship can't hold a blade now. No wonder second master is using every means possible to find Master Yideng, by hook or by crook. How anxiety-inducing it must have been for him. This little scumbag. Fei Sheng, who was crouching in wait on the rooftop, spat soundlessly. How could I bear to kill you? Shenzhequan set down the teapot. Qidong is still counting on you to supply their military provisions after the 4th month, and the expenses for the Lu province port are also all borne by you. Without you, who is going to handle affairs on my behalf? I didn't think your lordship could bear to kill me either. Yan Hiru deftly tapped the handle of his chair with his fingers as he shook his leg. But it can't be helped, man. You were ripping me off so bad a while back, and now you are staking half of your assets on me. But let me say a word in all honesty, okay? I can't bear to fall out with your lordship either. Where am I going to find such a good-looking and intelligent master like your lordship in the future? This whole saga about Master Yideng really came out of left field to me. If your lordship agrees, I'll give Mr. Yuan Zhou more than 10,000 silver as an apology. Would that work? Being happy is what matters most in life. Only then will there be meaning in living. Just as it seemed as if the atmosphere in this room was about to ease up, Shenzhequan unexpectedly changed the topic. The venerable Master Yideng died a long time ago, am I right? Yan Hiru looked abruptly at Shenzhequan with a smile still on his face. That can't. If he were still alive, how could you have been so willing to throw him to me this easily? Shenzhequan raised a finger to caress his folding fan and slowly said as he contemplated it over, the 8 cities' granaries are nothing. Even if I were to take it seriously to heart, I wouldn't kill you. But it's hard to say when it comes to the venerable master. Shenzhequan's expressive eyes were as dark as ink as he looked at Yan Hiru. Ce put in so much effort in an attempt to find the venerable master. If he were to really find traces of him only to find out that the venerable master had died in your hands, then even the heavenly emperor himself can't save you even if he were to come and intercede on your behalf. So you have to get rid of this hot potato as soon as possible. Yan Hiru's trip here this time was to apologize and admit the error of his ways. But what mistake did he have to apologize for? The 8 cities' granaries. Chu capital's investigation led it to the Dan city, and Shui Yanqing emerged victorious for the time being in that game. Yan Hiru had long known that he would definitely be wanted by the imperial court. Thus, he had to feign handing over the venerable master Yideng to give the He province Yamen an opportunity to chase after them in hot pursuit, so that the chain of events would logically lead to the overturning of the horse carriage. This was a card Yan Hiru had been reluctant to throw out, but he truly had no other better tactics to deploy. He had indeed found the venerable master in He province and kept him prisoner in his residence since the beginning of the year. How was he to expect that the venerable master was going to die? This leverage that could be used to threaten Shenzhequan instantly turned into a scourge that meant certain death for Yan Hiru. Once Xiao Qiye found a trail leading to the venerable master, Yan Hiru would not even have the chance to deal with him. It was only by facing Shenzhequan would he be able to use the lure of benefits to get a fighting chance at survival. You're so smart. Yan Hiru had never been one to be stingy with praises. He clenched his abacus. But since your lordship is willing to sit here and talk to me, that means you're willing to go easy on me and leave me a way out. I've done some calculations on the accounts earlier. The 6 prefectures of Zongbo can't afford to supply military provisions to the northern and southern battlefields for an entire year. Moreover, your lordship still wants to restore the people's livelihood in the 6 prefectures. I'm not the same as Shi Hongxian. Your lordship can't do without me every step of the way. You are indeed different from Shi Hongxian, so why compare yourself to him? Shenzhequan found Yan Hiru interesting. You are excessively extravagant in the way you handle matters, and you are all decked out in gold and silver. Your robes have to be embroidered with copper coins and ingots, and your neck has to have a golden abacus hung around it. You can't wait to announce to the entire world that you love money, but do you really love money? Shi Hongxian was also an ostentatious man given to showing off, but never to such an extreme extent. Compared to Yan Hiru, Shi Hongxian was more like a study of a noble clan's descendant. Going by the deposits in both households' money coffers, Shi Hongxian could even be considered a dutiful son who was frugal. But Yan Hiru was just the opposite. All his business transactions required money to be invested first. Rather than say he wanted money, one might as well say that he was obsessed with the process of earning money. With a sudden windfall of profits from the Cha province grains, the Yan clan enjoyed a meteoric rise as well. Yan Hiru expanded the small mutual trade market in Dun province and joined hands with the noble clans to resell public assets. He earned so much money that he could not even spend them all in 3 lifetimes, and he never held back when it came to spending them. Throwing in with Shenzhequan was an excellent opportunity for him to wash his hands off his former trade. His past deals were all clandestine transactions done under the table. To wash himself clean, he only had to behave himself and supply military provisions and salaries to the northern and southern battlefields, as well as pay his respects to the prefectural lord in person from time to time. Once the war was over and Shenzhequan really made it to the top, no one would be able to lay a hand on him on account of his merit in supplying military grains alone. When the time came, he would metamorphose into an official who had rendered meritorious service. But Yan Hiru was not willing to. It was precisely because of this restlessness in his bones that he could have the boldness of vision to come up with ideas like building a new port. It wasn't that this lad was not smart. Like his reputation that preceded him, he was a child prodigy. He was too intelligent, so much so that he was an old hand at exploiting the various tricks in the book. Did he not play the 8 great clans for fools too? To date, they were still following behind his arse and picking up money after him. It did not matter if you were a minister in power or a man of ambitions. He was not afraid at all. Carrying his golden abacus in his arms, Yan Hira curled up in his chair and laughed non-stop with his dimples showing. After he was done laughing, he sighed and said, "Your lordship, why do you want to be an overlord? Come and do business, man. Then I won't be lonely anymore." Shenzequan sighed too. "I wasn't born at a good time." Yan Hira tilted his head and said innocently, "Same for me, too. If I had been born 20 years earlier, there'd be no room for Shi Hongxian now. Fatso is so dumb that he played all the best cards of the Shi clan to ruins." He raised his chin a little arrogantly. "I see they keep changing the emperor around. If the opportunity were to fall in my hand, I want to swap a few for fun too, man." Seeing that Shenzequan was not showing any murderous intent, Yan Hira took a sip of tea and continued after hydrating his throat. I admire your lordship so much that it borders on worship, but somehow we are always a little different. You know my mother? She was a fisherwoman from He province who never had enough to eat at home and still had to raise her good-for-nothing brothers for her parents. Fed up with getting beaten up and scolded, my mother jumped into the water in a fit of pique and ran away. She disguised as a man on a boat for over 10 years, going where it went, before moving on to expand her initial tea business in He province with her sworn brothers. Everyone had no family, and so after a discussion, they all decided to simply take on the surname Yan. How nice, right? With money in hand, you can be doing whatever your heart desires. He laughed again. The other households took women in as concubines, while my mother went around picking a husband. She loved all the good-looking men in He province, and my father was the most handsome one. But my mother died young, and my father became Master Yan. He did business too, but he was always cowering and was afraid of everything. Heck, he did not even dare to raise his head when he saw the shopkeeper of the Shi clan. Yan Hira was literate, and he had also read the books of sages, but the talk of benevolence, righteousness, morals, and virtues in it was but mere rhetoric that had nothing to do with him. Didn't all those who spoke of benevolence and righteousness die young? In the days to come later, he became more and more certain of one thing, and that was, it did not matter how long he lived, as long as he lived to his heart's content. He looked like he was afraid of everyone. Level a blade before him, and he would shiver, yet the businesses he conducted were all deals that those who held blades for real in their hands would not necessarily dare to do. What kind of money was Zongbo making? Yan Hira knew it all too well. He saw refugees strewn all over the lands when his horse carriage passed through the territory. How pitiful! But what did all of this have to do with him? He was merely having fun in these turbulent times. If someone really starved to death, it couldn't be pinned on his head. There were many other people standing before him to take the blame. Where was his fault in this? Yan Hira leaned over the edge of the table and repeated the question to Shenzequan. Where does my blame lie in this? The military defeat of Zongbo has nothing to do with me, man. That was all Shenwei's fault. As for reselling grains, well, if I don't do it, others will do it. Rather than let other people waste all these silvers, I might as well use it to build a mutual trade market. The money has to be in circulation, see. It's most meaningless to hide them away in the coffers, as the Shi clan did in their money vault. Shenzequan wanted to kill him, so he had the venerable Master Yideng hidden away. Was he wrong to do so? It just so happened that the venerable master did not survive through it. Yan Hira said, given the venerable master's lot in life, he will still die once old age catches up with him, even if I don't take him in. What's more, he'd die in the middle of nowhere. Yan Hira was too young. He was, in certain aspects, just as naive as he looked. It wasn't that he had no one to teach him, but that the people who taught him were all not as intelligent as he was. He called Chai Yu grandpa. Chai Yu was a bandit in Cha province, but in his early years, He had also been a righteous man who gave generously to the old and weak, women and children in the territory. In the end, he still did those unconscionable deals against his conscience with Yan Hiru. The people in this world all like to preach about morality and righteousness, but it's all just talk. Yan Hiru jumped off the chair, still hugging his abacus. Profits come and go. Money is meant to be spent. Spend it, and you have everything. It's true that I don't give a hoot about this because I earn much, much more. There's no business that I can't have my fun with. The room was a little quiet. Yan Hiru found Shenzequan too silent. He deliberated it over and said to Shenzequan, regarding what happened to the venerable master Yideng, since your lordship wants to settle the score, then it can't be helped. I made a bad move, so naturally, I'm willing to make up for it. Just go ahead and let me know what medicinal herbs the residence needs. I'll continue to deliver Qidong's military provisions this year, so can we just turn the page on this matter? Shenzequan looked at him. You should go back. Yan Hiru remained fixed in place for a moment. As if wanting to explain himself and make it clear to Shenzequan, he said again, the port of Lu province is at a critical juncture. Your lordship, I'll come to call on you again the day after tomorrow and show you the bylaws. Shenzequan did not utter a word. The candle flame in the room was dark and gloomy. Yan Hiru unconsciously felt a little afraid. This was different from the fear he had felt in the past, it was cold icy fear that seeped deep into his bones. He knew the kind of man Shenzequan was. Shenzequan would not kill him, because intelligent people would not do so. What he had was confidence. Yan Hiru took a few steps back. When he reached the door, he flashed a smile at Shenzequan and turned around to lift the hanging screen before stepping out. A maidservant was waiting under the eaves with a lantern in hand. Yan Hiru looked at that deathly white lantern, and his hair stood on end. The candle flame in the room went out, and it was so quiet in the courtyard that not a sound could be heard. Yan Hiru did not let the maidservant see him out. He grabbed over the lantern and walked down the walkway with increasing speed until he eventually broke into a mad run, as if something was chasing him. Gasping for breath, he ran desperately for all he was worth. At this moment, he had to admit that he was still afraid of death after all. I have Qidong's 800,000 silver. Yan Hiru heard the sound of feet landing on the ground behind him. He looked back in a panic and saw nothing but still, he cried, like a child who had broken a vase and felt aggrieved at the inconsequential mistake. He yelled, Shenzequan. Shenzequan sat in his chair and poured away Yan Hiru's unfinished tea, just like the cup he poured for Shi Hongxian back then. The tea leaves lay on the rug, drying up in no time. End chapter.